Hello, everyone, and welcome to your weekly energy healing session. So, we are going to do a lot of stuff today. I'm Terryann Nikitas with Urban Retreat. You can like, share, subscribe. You can see me on leurbanretreat.com. I'm Terryann Nikitas on YouTube, and there's Urban Retreat on YouTube as well. You can find me all over the place. X, LinkedIn. So, if you need to watch these sessions later, you can look for them on most of the popular streams. All right, so today the group and I got together and we started thinking about a whole bunch of different things. And ultimately, we ended up with whatever traumas have occurred in our lives that, one, are part and parcel with the creation of our own victim blaming scenario. Second is whether we are following our own morality, which, if I'm following my own morality, if you think of Nietzsche, talking about God being dead and we're going to suffer for it. Well, yes, because what ultimately happens, which how did he even predict that each individual not believing in a God or the metaphysical or something greater than oneself, then you become your own God. That to me is super, super clear, but you can figure it out for yourself, because if everyone has their own morality, that morality is based in their own preference. And that preference, we all sit around and battle it individually, which doesn't really amount to much. But if we think about what is written on the heart and what is written in section 7 of the thalamus in the brain, this is Dharma, right living, basically the 10 Commandments. And what about the 10 Commandments? I've broken some. Yeah, I definitely have. And the consequences of breaking those 10 Commandments have done what to my life? They've complicated my life. It's made my life more difficult. We can have a complex yet simple life. That means, okay, things are complex to deal with, but I deal with them simply. But when we complicate things, then we get traumas. So I'm looking at it as there's no blame. We have certain situations that lead us to certain things, such as I was brainwashed into parts of feminism. So when I was growing up, everyone around me was super feminist, lots of women, blah, 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 men this, men that, right? So I get brainwashed into feminism. And if I questioned the feminist doctrine, I was yelled at. Usually some woman would say, you're a woman, and if you're a woman, you're a feminist. This is one cousin said to me. And it kind of scared me to question the doctrine. I was young, I was a teenager. It really I kind of pulled back. Then over time, I went out and I did things according to the feminist doctrine, and it didn't work out. It took me time, but 20 years later, from my teens to my late 30s into my 40s, I started realizing, oh my, this is not at all what were they talking about? What is going on? So more and more questions, more and more understanding, and of course, kind of pulling away from people. There were still a lot of people who were feminist and said really weird things that my stomach, my belly would cringe at, but I still didn't have an argument. Now I do. I have an argument, not that I'm going to argue, but an argument that actually gives me the power to be a human being in the world and follow the commandments laid down by God that decomplicate life. Okay? Complex is fine. It's always complex. So I look at the hero's journey. I look at our fairy tales. I look at our mythology. I look at the biblical stories. All of these stories guide us. They show us what is right and what is wrong. If we go down to the personal view of what is right and wrong, it's just complicated. Even having a discussion with someone who has a particular preference, but no moral standing that is the metaphysical. So in so much of the work that I do, I say, there's the vertical, everything's occurring. How do I operate through this world? right? But most people are in the physical, the horizontal timeline. It's like, well, if I do this, then that. You know what happens when we do this and then do that? The devil can get in there really easily, really easily. You can be walking around, you can be suffering, having a hard time, and the devil says, hey there, I have a really easy solution for you. Why don't you sign this contract and I'm going to give you $100,000 to do your business, right? To get it started, up and running, and you're going to have a life. Or you're living on the street, you're susceptible to taking drugs, and somebody comes by and says, well, how much money do you need? You give them $10,000. What would be the outcome? Usually that person will take the money and overdose. That's the first place they're going to go. So money is a really easy way to tempt someone, really easy. Sex, money, greed, any of those things, really easy. So do you know what moral code to follow? Not just the one that hangs out in your mind. So in doing that, let's get that part of the brain and the heart activated. We want it to talk to us so we can have the best path forward. Okay, so I'm not going to dictate what it is. We know it's the 10 Commandments. We have that representation that helps us deal with our world better. That's within the heart and a part of the brain. So let's just go in there, and for each individual on the planet that gets to listen to this session and wants to receive it, we're going to run a program that allows us to see what is good within us, what is right. And we don't need to. The truth actually is ineffable. And the reason the truth is ineffable is that the moment you speak in words the truth, what happens next? The opposite rises. The opposite rises. When you speak in code, poetry, fairy tale, you have to figure out the truth. So something like, I am that I am. Oh, what does that mean? Oh, it gets us thinking. And we also want to look at being able to figure these things out for ourselves to lead the best life possible, lead a complex yet simple life, complex yet simple, without all of this extra stuff like, greedy, desirous, lustful, gluttonous, all these different things that come in and dominate. And also, when you do succumb to those things, that forgiveness and compassion come quickly so you can get yourself back in line to your aims and your objectives. So one of the things we covered is there are a lot of people who don't believe this. Some people who do. That's fine. It doesn't matter. There's evil in the world. Evil can be caused by conditioning, brainwashing, lack of questioning, aggressiveness, defensiveness, and scars from early on in life and throughout life. Abuse, emotional, mental, physical, all that kind of abuse can occur, and a person can have a difficult time. There can be a difficult time that could create evil just because the mother ate something that was rotten by mistake. And it went in, got to the fetus brain doesn't develop properly, and they operate a little skewed. All right, we want to support those people. But then there's another group of people, and they are actually evil souls. So with those people, we're not going to correct them. I don't think they want to be corrected. If you do want to be corrected, balanced, whatever you want to call it, come in, tap this session out so you can, be displaced by what is written in the heart and what is written in the mind and help you get through it. I truly doubt that would be a factor. It's like angels and demons are necessary for us to continue our karmic journey. So I don't know if that's possible, but you can always try. The next thing is, and if that happens for you, please let me know. I'd like to know how that pans out. The next part is to protect. So that protection comes from discernment and being clear. So each and every one of us has had some, form of abuse, whether it's really big or little or whatever. Even if you say, well, no, nobody's ever abused me. And you look at a person and they're super beautiful. Yeah, somebody might be wishing you ill and jealous of you. It could be anything. We want to make sure that the small intestine and the heart can discern, and you're able to protect yourself through the Wei Qi and also through your actions, like leaving the area, if you experience or feel or sense that abuse. But also the small intestine needs to register that way before even you register it, because the small intestine is all about decision making. So we think we make decisions. We think we make decisions. Nah, we don't. They occur way before we actually see the decision coming up. So the decision way before, it could be a nanosecond, but that decision occurs in the small intestine. We can sit there and say, okay, I deliberated, et cetera, et cetera. No, the decision was made. So that's kind of like being in the vertical to understand that. That's up to you to understand it. Remember, everything I say, I'm not going to sit around and try and prove. You just need to research it. That's all you need to do, and figure out how you operate. And you can ask yourself questions to understand, no, I deliberated and I purposefully made that decision. Yeah, I would say that it's very rare that I look at a day and think I made decisions. They just sort of pop up. Right? Like my whole day is controlled by hours of work. When I would love to jump out of bed at 4 a.m. Yeah, that ain't happening. That's the decision I make. I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. That's what I want to do. Yeah, okay, 4 o'clock comes and I'm like, oh, my back, my this. And I start stretching and doing breathing. I'm not out of bed. Not out of bed. Yeah, so something you could look at yourself. And don't let your mind trick you. Observe, because the mind is so tricky. No, I did make that decision. Yeah, okay, talk all you want, but really watch and take a year to do it. Don't just take 5 minutes and run around. Observe yourself. And as you observe, things will slow down. And as you slow down, you start to realize, wow, yeah, I'm not really making those decisions. They're happening despite me. Now, that said, you still have choice, always. But whether you have control over that choice is another thing entirely. And that's how we live, in paradox. I am that I am. Or as Gurdjieff wrote his book, he said, I am only then when I am. That's a nice one to think about. I just sat around thinking about it for 2 hours before I went to sleep the other night. And I thought, wow, yeah, I am only then. It's an absolute when I am. Only then when I am. The rest of the time, what am I doing? The rest of the time, what am I doing? I'm thinking that I am something. Not the action, but you might think you are the action. I am working, and we're very identified with that working person. So here we're going to allow that section 7 and the heart to create and establish, along with the small intestine, the differentiation. I'm still going to live as a person who's walking around, seemingly making my decisions, but the awareness that, well, I'm not really in control. That's happening too. I don't have to drive myself crazy. I can see what I'm doing. I can see that I think I'm doing this. I think I'm putting my hands out there. Do I have any control? I could have done something else. I could have done this instead. Instead, I did this. So what? It's just happening. But I don't need to sit and think about that all the time. It's just realizing, I can be more in the I am or the beingness of things, right? And I've always tried the silence, I love those people who do silence, but I'm a blabbermouth. I am, you can tell, I blab. So for me, the way I work through things is by talking. I got to talk. I got to speak stuff out. So whatever you are, I am that I am, who cares? All right, so let's go through who cares for a moment, and love this idea of who cares. Like, who's doing the caring? All right. I love you all and have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Have fun with that. It should be nice and relaxing. Bye.